as we said before, because of the Austen Lane and Justin Tafa no contest, it'll be a good segue into our top 5, which we try to do weekly. Which we try to do. We will try to do it every week. Let us know if you want to see any other top 5s down in the comments. Thought it'd be a good idea to do the 5. I guess not really the top 5 or the best 5. It's kind of the sort of 5 favorites, or the 5 that stick out to you. No pun intended.
Yeah, good on.
So please you go first, Jack. What are your top 5 no contest?
Okay, well, I'm just going to refer to my notes. Oh, okay, yes. So top 5 no contests. For number 5, I have Rodriguez versus Stevens. Because I think that was a hilarious matchup. Shame. Rodriguez was obviously super emotional when he got the eye poke, and then they called it a no contest. But just like his immediate reaction was just hilarious, because like Michael Bisping touches his shoulder, and you can see in the post-fight interview, and he just like calls him, well, he just says like super loudly, like puta, and it was just like that. I don't think you get many moments like that where on camera
it's like
Michael
an instant
Bisping
meme straight away. Yeah.
So that's number 5. In number 4, I have Alvarez versus Poirier. I think that was just like a really cool moment in sportsmanship, where I remember the crowd started booing Alvarez, and like it was like a bad stoppage. And then Poirier like just gets on the mic straight away and says like, "Don't boo this guy, like don't boo this man. He's a warrior." It's just like that was really cool to see. And I think in MMA, it's one of the only like sports where someone's actively trying to hurt you, and that's the entire premise of the sport. And to see that like, no, it's not a personal thing. It's just like this is what we do. And there's just so much mutual respect there. You know, that's really like very cool to see, and like what a class act from Dustin. And then for 3, I have Silva versus Diaz, which it was just like, I don't know. It's so funny to look back on it, because like it was just a hard fought fight, and then when Silva won, he was just like celebrating like crazy, and it was just like it was a monumental fight, like 2 huge names, and like 2 days later, like drug tests, they both failed.
Both get popped.
Yeah. So like that's number 3. And then for number 2, I have Bilal versus Edwards. So that I think that if that had gone through, that would have reshaped the welterweight division now. I think that like still up until that point, I was really excited for that fight, because they were both on such like crazy win streaks. Edwards at that point, he'd only lost to Kamaru something like 8 years before then, and Bilal, he was on that tear. He's still on that tear. But yeah, someone's had got to go in that sense. And yeah, it was just such a shame. It was really sad to see. It was just like a very brutal eye poke. I would really like to see that fight get played back.
And it might.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, but yeah, it was just that's number 2, just because it's like the most tragic. And then
in number 1,
John Jones versus Daniel Cormier 2.
Yeah.
Where John won, and then it got called a no contest because he also failed the drug test.
Yeah, with the picograms.
Yeah, it was just like that. That's probably actually, I'm going to say that's the most tragic, because like Daniel, who valued his career so much, at that point, then like he's if he wants to prove that he's better than John Jones, he's not like he's getting older. At that point, he's like 38 or 36, and John was like 31. So yeah, I think that left an unanswerable question to Cormier's career.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a great list, actually. There's some really, really good ones there, and I think they're really good with the magnitude of the situation of each one. But just on your number 1, like I'm torn on that one a little bit, because yeah, of course there's some. I mean, it's not confirmed; it's alleged. But I mean, if you've got metabolites, picograms, whatever,
yeah,
there's a high likelihood that you were doing something. But that doing something can give you some physical attributes that could give you an advantage, but you can have all the physical attributes in your world. Look at a guy like Hector Lombard, for example, was had all these physical attributes, and when he got to UFC, he didn't do well at all.
Yeah.
I think John Jones, with or without, to me, it's not a tarnish on his name. I think it's a bit. Look, they got to do what they got to do, but it is sad. But I still think he won that. I mean, the head kick, all the gear in the world is not going to give you the ability to head kick like that.
And the follow through afterwards, and an amazing performance, absolutely.
The calmness and all of that. But it is sad because there is still, I mean, it is ruled a no contest. So that's another blemish on his record. So great top 5, dude. I took a really good top 5. I think as well. You know, like I said, the magnitude of the results, you know, and the magnitude of the fights. I think that's a great top 5. And I've got 2 of the same as you.
Yeah.
So my top 5, I've gone for a little bit of a different outlook. So mine is like a combination of a bunch of things, and I'll give reasons for each. So in at number 5, I've got Hardy versus Sasoli. Dude takes his inhaler like mid-fight and says it's USADA approved. Like, what? Like, how do you know, it's one of those funny after ones, you know, like I thought of the funny ones that there were. So there was like obviously you had Silva Diaz. That's also hilarious.
Yeah.
But this one, like, takes your inhaler. It's USADA approved, bro. Can I take my inhaler? It's USADA approved. Like, I just thought that was hilarious. Another funny one. Actually, no. The number 4, I've also got Dustin Poirier versus Eddie Alvarez. It's always interesting with kneeing a downed opponent because you got like Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan happened. You've got this. I mean, there's a bunch of, sometimes it's a no contest, sometimes it's a DQ. Like, but again, that moment is like you said at the end. It's the magnitude of the fight. They ended up having a rematch. Dustin Poirier ended up winning, but the magnitude of the fight at the time, I think it was also sort of like a title eliminator or was it interim back then? But it was the second one was interim where Poirier won, but it was I think it was a title eliminator. And then also the sportsmanship afterwards. Number 3, I've only got this number 3 and higher because of how funny it is. Mainly it's Yair Rodriguez and Jeremy Stevens. You know, the bit where he's like, I don't even think he knew it was Michael Bisping. Like he just didn't want anyone to touch him, and then he's like swearing at them. But also just because, you know, the event was in Mexico with Yair Rodriguez being there, all the hype behind it, like it was actually built to be a really good fight. And it lasted 15 seconds. You know, so you can understand why it was pissed off. You can do all that training for 15 seconds in front of your home crowd, and somebody's trying to rip your shoulder to the side to come do an interview. Like, come on, we would also probably be pissed.
No, absolutely.
And then he realized, okay, he's 185 pound, I'm 145. Let me just calm down. You know? So in at number 2, I've got Holland versus Dorcas for a couple of reasons. So the head clash, firstly, was just like sick. As in not in a good way. But then also the whole referee deliberation on the outside. And it was just, he was just out cold. I mean, he was out, it was clean out. And it's like, to me, that's like a proper no contest. So number 2 and number 1 are like real proper no contests. I understand eye pokes and things are part of it and downed opponents that I had before, but this is like properly like he cannot continue. There's no, you were knocked out cold. Downed opponent, you know, look at the Aljamain Sterling fight. People thought he could have continued. Couldn't he? Who knows? Yeah, for sure. There's no chance. And even at number 1, I've gone for Gray Maynard versus Rob Emerson. It was a tough 5 finale. So basically, Gray Maynard, I can't remember what round it was in, but Gray Maynard shot for a takedown. And Emerson had him in the guillotine, so had his head under his arm. And as he took him down, Emerson was kind of like grimaced. So it was originally like they thought, okay, no, this is, you know, it was out of pain, a verbal submission. And Gray Maynard had hit his head. At the same time, what happened is they realized Gray Maynard had knocked himself out by hitting his head on the canvas.
Oh, and then they both got knocked out.
So they both basically couldn't continue. And then Gray Maynard afterwards is like, no, I wasn't knocked out. And like this whole, he had the whole hazy, the whole hazy thing afterwards. But he was so clearly knocked out because he just went limp, turned around, all of a sudden he was like up again. So that's definitely my number 1 because that's like both fighters gone, can't continue. Proper no contest. Like, freak accident. So that's my top 5. Let me know what your top 5 is. Top 5 no contests. Maybe not top 5 favorite, funniest, whatever you want to call it. Let us know in the comments if you agree with our lists, and let us know what other top 5s you'd like to see next week and the week onwards. Maybe we'll do a Drickus themed one next week with our special guest.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
Possibly. There's actually kind of a couple of avenues we can go with that one. So